The Senate has just left for recess, even though they have not come up with an agreement on coronavirus financial relief for Americans. And even as Donald Trump, with the help of the Postmaster General, is dismantling the post office at a time when we're expected to see an influx of mail-in ballots. So people are upset. I'm definitely upset. And even though this is making news right now, I also want to be clear that the House had already gone on recess. So it's not just the Senate. And it just shows you how little Congress really cares about our lives or protecting our democratic process. So the Senate is on recess until September 14th. And Mitch McConnell has blamed the inability to provide financial relief to Americans on Democrats. Of course, same old nonsense. He says, we have our regular pro forma meetings through the end of the state work period. If the Speaker of the House and the Minority Leader of the Senate decide to finally let another package move forward, it would take bipartisan consent to meet for legislative business sooner than scheduled. So he doesn't care. Like, understand that, everyone. He does not care. In fact, I mean, I bring up how our democratic process is being absolutely destroyed, how this election is being rigged by dismantling the post office. But that's not the bug, that's the feature. I think that Republican lawmakers are like, wait, why would we provide financial relief to Americans when we can just rig this election? Awesome. Well, let me give you more. Democrats entered negotiations with a package of approximately $3.4 trillion to $3.7 trillion and have offered to reduce that price tag by $1 trillion. Republicans in the White House have refused to move from roughly $1 trillion. So they don't want to provide any type of economic relief to states, for instance. They don't want to provide funding for the post office for obvious reasons. They don't want the post office to have the capacity or the capability to actually process all of these mail-in ballots. Asked when her next talk with Steve Mnuchin and Meadows will be, Pelosi responded, I don't know, when they come in with $2 trillion. All right, that's great, nice fighting there. And in response, Larry Kudlow, the White House economic advisor, said the following: the Speaker wants a $2 trillion commitment from us. We're not going to give it. There are too many things, too many asks on their side that don't fit, don't have anything to do with COVID for that matter. Now, he failed to give us an example of what is proposed in that legislation that isn't related to COVID, because the funding for the post office is important. I mean, the post office was negatively impacted by a slowdown in mail in the beginning of this pandemic. And so everything is related to COVID. They just don't want to provide financial relief to Americans because, hey, I mean, when it comes to our donors, things are going great. The private health insurance industry has doubled its profits during this pandemic, doubled its profits. And of course, when you look at Wall Street, there's a giant disconnect. Wall Street's doing really well, and it's because the Federal Reserve, of course, dropped interest rates, and they have spent so much money in basically printing money and bailing these companies out. So its balance sheet exploded from roughly $4.3 trillion in mid-March to $7 trillion today. So Wall Street gets bailed out. The private health insurance companies doing real well. They're doubling their profits. And Main Street gets to suffer. Who cares? Not a big deal, right?
Yeah, so I want to explain a couple of things here. First of all, the only thing that Larry Kudlow ever pointed to that was not in his mind part of coronavirus was the post office funding, which is not just because the post office needs it generically because of coronavirus, as Anna pointed out, but also because we want people voting through mail-in so that especially senior citizens don't get coronavirus while voting in person. But Kudlow said, yeah, the Republican Party, we don't do voting rights. He literally said that. And so we showed that to you earlier in the week. So he's saying, okay, I go vote in person and die. I don't care. I'm not gonna give the money for that because we're gonna try to cheat and win this election by not counting all the votes. So that's the Republican Party. But the Democratic Party doesn't have to participate. The House could have stayed. They could have demanded. They could be doing hearings right now in the post office. They could be doing hearings on how the unemployed are suffering and how people are getting evicted. They're not doing any of that. And so it's a little bit easy, and sometimes we fall into this trap as well of talking about how these politicians are elitist and don't like to work and they're lazy. Well, there's some truth to that. But really the bigger issue is the reason they take all of these gigantic breaks, no matter what the emergencies are, no matter how dire the situation is because they need to do fundraising. And so that's what the rest of the reporters never tell you. They take the break so they can go make phone call after phone call. Now they used to do dinner parties and wine cellars. Now they're doing Zoom calls. Money, 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 bribe me, bribe me, bribe me, bribe me. That's what they're doing now. Instead of trying to look out for you, they're calling all of their rich friends and all the multinational corporations to take bribes from them. That's what they're busy doing. And then on the health insurance, look at how sick our system is. People are not using the insurance they have as much anymore. And I know it's ironic, but you're gonna understand why immediately. They don't wanna go into hospitals or doctor's offices to get knee surgery or any other thing that they were planning to do. My wife just canceled her dental appointment for teeth cleaning because you don't wanna accidentally get sick by going into these settings. But they're still keeping your premiums. So they've now extracted billions of dollars that could have actually gone towards healthcare or taking care of coronavirus and given it as bonuses to healthcare executives while not giving you the healthcare insurance that you would normally use. So the rich are using this opportunity to get way richer while you're suffering, and the Republican Party and unfortunately the majority of the Democratic Party aren't doing anything about it.
And remember, this is the healthcare system that the Democratic Party did everything it could to protect and defend. I mean, they put out lie after lie about Medicare for all. This is a system that in their minds is working. And by the way, Americans, for all of you who regurgitated the stupid talking point about like, oh, private insurance gives you so much more choice. How are you liking your choices right now? You enjoying your choices? Lots of great choices, right? So pathetic. Anyway.
What choices are they talking about? If the government ran insurance, you could get whatever you wanted. It's even the opponents of Medicare for all say it's the Cadillac package. You could go to any doctor, any provider, any hospital, and you don't have to worry about dying or getting bankrupted and losing your house. You could get the vaccine, you can get any of these things. Now it's like, oh, I have a choice of which private insurance is gonna take all my money and give me no coverage. Hashtag freedom. Look, and that's not just Republicans. That's idiot conservative corporate Democrats. Now, to be fair, the voters got tricked. The politicians get bribed by health insurance companies and drug companies. They're the worst. So who's the one going, I can't tell? The freaking media. The media is like, oh yeah, this current system will give you lots of choice of who's gonna rob you. By the way, they're also our advertisers. Funny break we caught.
Oh, it's so frustrating. And I have to share this statistic with you guys because it shows you just how much average Americans and small businesses are suffering right now. The unemployment rate is still at 10.2%, so it's still very high. But let's take a look at what's happened to small businesses. Last month, for example, Yelp found that 26,000 restaurants had closed, almost 16,000 of them permanently. Consumer confidence also fell, obviously, in 41 states over the course of July, particularly in the South and West, and remains some 24 points below the pre-pandemic average. So there is a disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. I mean, that was already a problem in this country, but it's certainly way more pronounced now with this system that we have in place. We have such just useless lawmakers. I can't believe they're on vacation right now.
No, but Anna, to be fair, it does make sense because they're not on vacation. They're calling multinational corporations for bribes. And the multinational corporations don't mind small businesses going out of business. That's bigger market share for them. So what did they do? That stat that you read earlier, they put $2.7 trillion onto the Federal Reserve. That goes to money for the largest corporations in the world. So did small businesses get $2.7 trillion? Hilarious, not even close. Now the PPP was pretty good for small business, but now that's out, that's gone. Now the money for average American is gone. All those businesses are getting closed. How can a restaurant survive in this? How can you go 5 months without people going to your restaurant and survive? Of course you can't survive. It's a minor miracle 10,000 of them survived. How could hair salons survive? How could all these small businesses? They're not gonna survive. And it's not an accident. That's the point. This is an opportunity for big business to wipe out their competition. And the way they do it is by telling the lawmakers, including the Democrats, you give us trillions of dollars, then you go on vacation when it comes time to helping our competitors, the small businesses. And that when this is all over, we'll have almost all of the market share.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.